According to league-wide sentiment, it's hard to find one talent evaluator who thinks Westbrook is useful anymore. Teams are viewing Westbrook as, quote, one-year problem on the books, and he's just not useful anymore. In fact, his own agent of 14 years has parted ways from Westbrook, citing irreconcilable differences. Westbrook won an MVP. He's a two-time NBA scoring champion, 9-time All-Star, 2-time All-Star MVP, yet he was still voted most overrated by his NBA peers while in his prime. Westbrook has been involved in the most physical altercations by so many opposing players and former teammates, and one that almost ended his own career.
The other thing you ask yourself is, and that looks serious.
Not to forget, he leads the league in heated exchanges with NBA fans. By many former teammates, he's been called lazy and selfish, and one of the most difficult players to play along with, one of the most difficult humans to be around. But he responded with doing something that no one thought was possible in 2017, all while overcoming being the biggest villain and most hated NBA player. Even with all the hate, most humans would get destroyed under this pressure. Westbrook embraces it, and he goes back at people. Westbrook is regarded as one of the most electrifying and explosive players ever in NBA history, and he knows it, which is why he's so cocky about it, and he has every right to be so. New York Times even published an article calling Westbrook one of the most misunderstood geniuses ever. There's no doubting Westbrook's abilities, as he can put up some of the craziest numbers ever in history whenever he wants to, like the ultra rare 20-20-20 game he dedicated for Nipsey Hussle.
That's a Nipsey. I think we got to give him that innovation on that one. People at home, he said that's for his guy, man, Nipsey Hussle. We just watch history here. We got it.
Westbrook gets hate from all angles, and pretty much by every NBA fan base, even his own fans at times.
Westbrook thought about it. Crowd kind of telling him no, and he missed it. Davis, another rebound.
Even as much hate as Westbrook gets now, the hate was probably at its peak when he was younger. By the time that the Young Thunder had put the NBA on notice, Westbrook's criticism started climbing from all angles, even from legends like Magic Johnson, who call him the worst point guard in the NBA Finals ever.
I was very disappointed in Russell Westbrook. That was the worst point guard in a championship finals I've ever seen.
That came after his league-wide criticism after Game 2's finals loss, when Westbrook, who had a whopping 26 shots to only score 27 points, and everyone was pointing to the fact that him shooting takes away from Durant, who only had 22 shot attempts on an efficient night. Westbrook responded to the legend, "I'm not going to make any adjustments to my game, and I vow to keep shooting regardless of what happens." Even with some of the best performance on the biggest stage of his career, he got tremendous hate, and he had an answer for a finals loss. Westbrook had put up 43 points leading the Thunder, while his counterparts put up lackluster games. For example, James Harden went just 2 for 10 with 8 points, but who got the blame during the postgame? You guessed it, Russell Westbrook. With even his own teammate Kendrick Perkins saying Westbrook was being selfish and trying to win the game all by himself. Along with the media, Westbrook has had a long list of beefs with his own teammates, like the one that still goes on to this day with Reggie Jackson. While they were teammates in OKC, there was always rumors of the animosity between the two. And if you didn't know by now, in this league, where there's smoke, there's fire. Reggie Jackson was drafted to the Thunder in 2011 and was obviously a backup to Westbrook to start off. However, he would have his chances to shine, like when Westbrook missed a lot of games due to his torn meniscus. As Reggie blossomed into a promising young player, the competition resulted in beef between Westbrook and Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson was even quoted as saying his practices with Westbrook were cutthroat, and he refused to take me under his wing to improve. Reggie would ultimately get traded to the Pistons, and things were just getting started. After their first matchup, Westbrook displayed great defense during the game, and he made sure to say something about Reggie.
Anticipation about Reggie's return to OKC. How do you think y'all handled him today?
Who?
Reggie Jackson.
What happened?
There was a lot of anticipation about his return to Oklahoma City. How do you think y'all handled him? From media, various people.
Nobody in this locker room, we wasn't worried. We just came out and competed. Maybe from y'all, but just another player, another team.
The beef would continue as Reggie got his revenge when beating the Thunder and waving goodbye to them. This would obviously piss off Westbrook, who unleashed hell on Jackson after the game. Quote, "I thought it was some real for our team and our organization. I don't like it at all, but it is what it is. We'll see him down the line." we'll take care of that when we get there. He wasn't changing nothing for us. He's not doing too much of a difference over there too, if you ask me. He's gonna stay over in Detroit. We're gonna stay over here and we'll see them next season. Normally when you move to a new place, you clean out the old fridge and toss out the old beef you may find. But not these guys, no way. Their beef reached a peak when they met this year, over 5 years after their last altercation. As Reggie had Westbrook matched up on him, he relished the opportunity to embarrass him, as he pulled out some street moves to embarrass his old teammate. Of course, Westbrook wouldn't just let that happen, as he would trip him up in the process. The ensuing play, he would headhunt Westbrook, and this would unfold. There were innocent casualties in this, however, as LBJ had to take one for his teammate. Westbrook was just always a naturally competitive guy who always played full throttle, and that made some people resent him. In death, some people donate their body to science. In life, Russell Westbrook is giving his to basketball. Westbrook almost hurt himself when he went to block an opponent's shot after the play was over. Luckily, he got up and walked it off. Westbrook was just as intense in summer league games. When he had new teammates on the Wizards, there's a story that goes as basically, they had shoot around 10 a.m. and Westbrook rhetorically asked his teammates what time their summer league game was gonna be, and some of them responded by saying 7 p.m. Westbrook blew up and yelled, "No, no, no, the game starts now." Westbrook's workouts have always remained a mystery, upon Westbrook's request. However, some things leak out, like when Westbrook one time called out his trainer for setting a weak screen.
Mike, what is this? What is this? What screen's like this? Mike, what is this? Fucking screen. He's trying to set a legal screen. What? Screen, Mike. Hey, get back, Joe.
Again, this was in practice. Westbrook even went at it with the coach during a non-contact practice. He drilled his coach with the elbow and followed that up with driving his shoulder into the coach. The assistant coach obviously reminded Westbrook that it was just camp. Westbrook cussed out the coach and said, "I don't give a... let's go!" This type of stuff made people resent Westbrook, including the refs. Westbrook led the league many times in techs and ejections, but some of the time they were unwarranted, as the refs treated him differently and in an unfair manner. In fact, a ref came out and even said he received an unfair whistle. Quote, "We miss on him, and we miss on him because he was so strong, he'd finish. He'd get fouled, and we miss plays on him." And I'd go back and look at the plays, and I'd come to him after the game. That's not all. Westbrook got 2 technical fouls within 10 seconds of each other, which is extremely rare to see in today's soft NBA. And then you take into fact that most of the NBA fans are here to see the stars. It made that move by the refs even more head scratching, and the reason for the ejection just makes this a wild blunder by the NBA. It's because he was trying to call out the refs for a mistake that they made, which ultimately cost the Thunder. Westbrook said after the game, he's fed up with what he sees as harsh treatment by NBA refs. The altercations with NBA refs continued, as he was always made out to be the scapegoat. In a game versus the Warriors, Westbrook was provoked after a high-intensity play. In the words of Westbrook, his perspective on that play was, "Obviously I hit Lee, but it wasn't on purpose. I'm going to the glass, he got hit. He says something to me, I said something to him. I'm standing there. The guy comes, snatches the ball out of my hand. Guys coming running over to me. I didn't move, but I'm the one who always gets painted out to be the bad guy in this whole situation." Then they asked me to walk towards the bench. He clarified after saying, "They just told me to walk away from the situation. So I just moved out of the situation and minded my own business. So I'm just there walking to the bench." And then one of the little young fellows tells me, "Why are you walking over here talking to me?" And I turn around and said, "What did you say?" And now everyone runs over to me, and I'm walking towards the thing. Then Looney steps in front of me. I always feel like I'm in a position that like, oh well, Russ is being Russ, which nobody knows what that means. People try to paint me out as a bad guy that I'm not. I just think it's unfair. It's unfair though, that after all that, I'm the only one that gets attacked or gets kicked out. That's not fair. I don't care what nobody says. It's so many other people involved in it and doing so many things that weren't okay. But I'm the one that gets attacked, gets ejected, and everyone else has to go back somewhere. He continued to talk about how the refs unfairly treated him. Westbrook had a season go still just as good as anyone could dream of. The man single-handedly led his team to the playoffs on the back of the second only season where a player averaged a triple-double. On top of that, he was leading the NBA in points per game. He had the highest selling jersey, and every young kid in America was idolizing. This is a time where NBA players like Curry and LeBron existed. He was becoming the most popular player in the NBA, and also one of the most hated players too, because when Westbrook has something on his mind, he's gonna say it no matter how bad or negative it is. That non-existent filter had resulted in Westbrook going after some of the NBA's most loved players, including Curry.
Chris, I imagine you've got so many more priorities, but do you pay attention to when other players talk about who the MVP could be?
I don't.
So has anyone told you that Curry shared his opinion that it should be Harden because of where the Rockets are in the standings?
I don't care. No matter what he say. Who is he?
Westbrook is such a crazy man. When the legend Kobe Bryant paid the ultimate respect to Westbrook by insisting on guarding him, you'll have to excuse Westbrook for refusing to return the same level of reverence with his words. It's not like he's the best defender in the world, Westbrook said. Also, he's known for going after critics on Twitter and not holding back, like in this tweet, where he practically threatened the critic. All these examples fall short to what the cameras caught Westbrook saying about his former teammate, and one may even say, brother.
Broadcast coming up on Monday. Thunder will be in Salt Lake City to play the Utah.
What made Westbrook say this? Well, a beef that made Westbrook the most polarizing NBA player. You either loved him after this or understood the hate behind his name. Once the most polarizing duo in the NBA, KD left Westbrook for the Warriors. But what sparked such a move? Westbrook had been killing the team with his shot selection. He falls in love with his own shot and doesn't want to get anybody else involved, including Durant. Westbrook wants so badly to be in control of the team, and that consumes him. He wants to be the star and seems to resent the fact that Durant is the star with all the endorsement deals, and this really comes out in the way that he plays. Scott Brooks, Westbrook's own coach, got on him. The day that KD announced his move to the Warriors, Westbrook posted a cupcake photo taking a shot at him. However, everything seemed cool, but there's no greater test of hatred towards your former mate than a face-to-face meeting, and that's what we got. A reunion and a meeting that not even Hollywood could script up.
Walked in the arena, had an orange vest on that said official photographer. One of Kevin Durant's favorite hobbies is photography, so it certainly has a little bit of a deeper meaning to it.
Westbrook smacks away a shot. Credit Westbrook for a big-time swat of Kevin Durant.
Durant for three, got it!
To me, I'll talk back. I don't really say much, but if you start, I'll finish it.
That's what you say, bro.
In their first meeting, there was absolutely no love between the two. The worst between the brothers was yet to come. As the season went on, KD was putting up career highs, chasing a ring, and embarrassing his former team. KD didn't care about anything else in the world, let alone Westbrook. But let's not feel too bad for Westbrook. He was also thriving. He was in the middle of one of the best NBA seasons in history. Things died down between the two. After all, time heals all wounds, right? Well, until KD said this.
In OKC, I played with a lot of athletes. I didn't play with a lot of skilled guys, not like shooters, ball handlers. I was like, I need a change. And this was before the season even started.
Westbrook was then asked if him and Durant were on speaking terms, to which he responded,
"Are you and KD on speaking terms?"
Nah. This beef fueled one of the biggest breakups of the last decade, even putting Hollywood films to shame, and further fueling the villain narrative of Westbrook, who had his closest teammate turn his back on him and leave him. After signing the biggest contract in NBA history of 5 years and $205 million, more criticism followed Westbrook, as practically every team views him as an awful contract that no one wants to have on their books. Heck, even his longtime agent left him over this. Westbrook's past transactions have always involved a team trying to unload that disastrous contract. Things have gotten so bad that teams are now reportedly asking for at least a first-round pick to potentially taking that contract on. There has been no shortage of altercations between Westbrook and fans. In fact, he is single-handedly leading the NBA for getting fans ejected to getting involved in arguments with them, even physical altercations. Westbrook had an instance where he literally threatened a fan, and that was all caught on camera.
I promise you, you're playing. I swear to God. I swear to God.
This man has even gotten into physical altercations with fans on many instances, which has been a line that no other NBA player has crossed, from hitting a poor fan's phone who's only trying to take a picture to literally pushing a fan. Yes, things have gotten as far as that too with Westbrook, further vilifying him. NBA fans did not back down, however. If hate towards Westbrook was not known, they made sure of it by literally starting a movement during the regular season where they coined the name Westbrook. One old name that we discussed also did not miss the opportunity to join in on this movement.
What I'm disappointed with Westbrook is I thought he was going to come with all this energy, get the rebound, go coast to coast. We haven't seen a lot of that. So we got to start seeing that. Where's that aggression? Where's that Westbrook go coast to coast dunking on people?
Westbrook has solidified himself as one of the most hardworking players and one of the best players to ever play. Will that cause people to stop hating him and not to be the villain anymore? Probably not. In fact, it will probably fuel him even more as his career comes to an end. Please do subscribe and like the video.